Look at verse 27 again. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful, and notice, in receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. There's a penalty for sexual sin. There's penalties for all kinds of sexual sin. You know, the Bible talks about this law of sowing and reaping. And with sexual sin comes penalties. There's consequences to sexual immorality. There are consequences to homosexual sin. But there's still another step downward. Look at verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, they didn't want to retain God in their knowledge. They didn't want God at all in society. So God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting. They don't want to retain God in their knowledge. They don't want God at all in society. And so God gave them over to a debased mind. This is the bottom step. This is where it goes. Our society is not progressing. It's regressing. And the bottom step, the bottom is a debased mind. The word debased here, if you're taking notes, it literally means useless. A debased mind is a mind that is not functioning correctly, a mind that doesn't think correctly because it's been so corrupted by sin. It's like the hard drive on a computer that has been so corrupted by viruses, it can't run the software correctly anymore. And look where it goes from there. Verse 29, being filled with unrighteousness, all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil. They invent ways to do evil. Disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful. That is a society that has been abandoned by God. That's where it goes. That's where it ends up. Who, knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, look what it says, but also approve of those who practice them. They know it's wrong. They know the righteous judgment of God. They know that those who practice such things will be judged by God, but they continue to do them, and some in that society also approve of it, where they support the right to do it, support their right to engage in those things that are listed there. And I believe this is where we are as a society. We are at the point where people's thinking is completely corrupted. You know, we have blown past the stop sign of heterosexual sin. We've blown past the stop sign of homosexual sin. And we are blowing past the stop sign of a debased mind. And we are at a point where people's thinking is just completely corrupted. And so we live in a society where now you can identify, if you're a man, you can identify as a woman. And if you're a woman, you can identify as a man. And if you're a man, you can compete in women's sports, and you can use women's locker rooms. And if anybody tries to stand up and say that's wrong, you're bigoted. What? We live in a society now where everyone can pick their gender. And we live in a society now where everyone is expected to address people by their preferred pronoun. And if you don't, you're a hater. And we live in a society now where a person can even have plural pronouns. How does that work? We have medical doctors now who cannot define what a woman is. A doctor. Medical doctors can't define what a woman is. We have people now in our society who identify as animals. And so we provide litter boxes for them now, so they can use the bathroom. and a litter box. And if you don't provide a litter box for them, you're a hater. We have children getting surgeries now. Children. Children who don't even know what they want to do next week are now making life-changing, life-altering surgeries on their body. And that's accepted. And on and on and on and on it goes. How in the world did we get here? Well, this is what happens when God abandons a society. This is what happens when a society suppresses the truth of God and suppresses the truth of God. We don't want God in our society. We don't want God's truth in our society. And there's a point where God says, okay, have it your way. And this is all the result of God's wrath, his wrath of abandonment.